So, welcome to the Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder. And today I have a guest coming from Cleveland, Ohio. For the past 7 years, he's been programming Lutron lighting control systems and motorized shades within the Cleveland area. He has been trusted by many homeowners to fully customize their Lutron lighting control systems to their liking. He prides in thoroughly educating his customers on the basics of their lighting control system. He works with some of the top lighting designers in the area and the best audio video companies to deliver elite home automation systems. I'm really excited to have him on today because this is a topic I've been wanting to talk about. I deal with it a lot right now. Joshua Kenny, welcome to the Real Build. How you doing today, man?
Good, good. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I'm like I said, I'm excited to have you on. It's huge what you're doing, and you're doing big things with it too, as far as Lutron and lighting and doing all that stuff too. And there's so much into this topic, and me and you have talked about it in the past, and I thought it'd be perfect to have you on because I got a lot of customers integrating these systems in their house, and the smart home technology is huge right now. So excited about it, man, for sure. What I like to always get started with everybody, obviously, is talking about your background. So who is Joshua Kenny?
Yeah. So I'm from originally from Canton, Ohio. Just recently moved to Cleveland, Ohio. I'm I guess again with the family. I'm the youngest of two older brothers. Grew up in the middle of the woods. I've always been passionate about electronics, passionate about technology, and then also fitness and bodybuilding as well. So a little bit about me.
Nice, man. And obviously being passionate about electronics has led you to where you are today, and how let's talk about kind of the business a little bit more, how you got into it. I mean, obviously you're passionate about it, but not everybody's going to say, I want to grow up and be in Lutron lighting, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
smart home stuff. So,
yeah.
how did you get into it, like growing up, as far as the background with that?
Yeah. So my dad had actually gotten me into it. He was an electrician his whole life.
Okay.
He was on a project. He was working in a mansion, and I was a kid at the time. And he had been asked to get certified in Lutron, and he did. And he ended up actually putting it in our house growing up. So I had a Homeworks illumination system growing up. Now, when I was 14 years old, I expressed interest in it, and I actually took my dad's computer and started programming my room when I was 14. And then growing up, I was in high school, around 17 years old. My dad would take me into these customers' homes, and he'd have me hook their cell phones up to their system. So at the time, it wasn't nearly as easy as it is now, just downloading an app. You actually had to go to an internet browser, type in the IP address of your processor, and then that's how you got access to the illumination system. So I would go to customers' homes with my dad, and we would sit and I'd hook the customers' phones up. So then fast forward, I was a big time football player in high school. Got a full ride to a small Division II school in North Canton, Ohio, where I played inside linebacker. I didn't make it too far. I ended up fracturing my L5 vertebrae.
Oh, wow.
So that ended my career there. And at the time, I went through it crushed my ego, crushed every part of me. But what had happened was I ended up withdrawing myself from school. At the time, my dad had just so happened to land a 25,000 square foot home, a Lutron job.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined him. We started working together. He taught me the ins and outs of it. And so then 7 years later, here I am. Finally, I'm in business for myself and just moving forward with it.
I mean, your story, that's, I think, why me and you connect so much too. Your similar story to me. Obviously, I've said my story multiple times. Everybody that listens to my show knows it. But briefly, I mean, obviously growing up in the construction business, learning the trades, learning, like being there with my dad and always having to work, that helped me too. And I played college football as well, got hurt, same situation, kind of grew up playing football my whole life. And all of a sudden I had an injury and I had to
I know
stop.
that. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
So I know that
Yeah,
feeling, and it was like,
yeah,
what's next? Where do you go? And I actually, when it happened to me, I almost went in the military. My dad's an ex-Marine. I tried doing that path. He would not let me because he
yeah,
was in Vietnam. He went through war and everything too. But
yeah,
long story short, I mean, that was part of my story and my process into getting where I am today. You know, going from football, not knowing where to go. I went back to working with my dad, being his, I like to call it, as he would say, a grunt, or digging the ditches, sweeping the job sites, and so on. But then I got a sales job in kind of and car sales, and kind of learned the sale ins and out of sales at a young age, and kind of went from there. But you know, it's those things in life that kind of get you to where you are today. And obviously you're running your own business, I'm running a
yeah.
business, some business too. And it's a key thing, man. It's and I can tell
Yeah.
it's helped you. And I mean, you just had that article come out too. Congrats on that. About and
Thank you.
your and me and you've talked about kind of your overall plan and where you want to be. And it's impressive what you're doing. And I definitely want to talk more about it too.
Thank
So like obviously with this show, it's about the customer. It's about teaching the customer what to look for in these certain areas,
you. Yeah,
you know, in the construction field or the real estate. But in this topic, we'll talk construction. So let's give people, you're in Lutron Lighting, you started your own business with it. Let's help people understand, you know, what is Lutron? What is the system you're dealing with? Obviously,
yeah,
you know, if some people know what it is, they might think it's just, okay, those are the paddle switches that I have on
yeah,
my
yeah,
wall, but there's a lot more detail to it. So let's talk
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so Lutron is a company that specializes in lighting control systems.
Hmm.
So they control, artificial lighting and then also natural lighting through the use of motorized shades. Lutron is the founder of the solid state dimmer. Uh, and specifically the systems that I deal with are residential systems. And
Okay.
those are used, put in homes to control larger scale homes, uh, to dim the LED fixtures and to really just allow the homeowner to control all their lights by, just a press of one button. Yeah.
Okay. And so is Lutron just obviously with the lighting control system? Let's go deeper into it too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know, and obviously you do it for a living, and I'm around it too. But for the person, what else can Lutron connect to? I mean, let's go into, you know, you can walk into your house. I know you can turn on your lights with your cell phone, but let's go into the actual controls of it. Like, let's get more detailed on it. I
Yeah.
know you
Yeah.
can do blind shades,
Blind
complete home
shades.
automation.
And the biggest hurdle that Lutron had to hop over was the LEDs. So when the LEDs came out, there wasn't anybody that was able to really dim them
Okay.
like we do in incandescent. So they have the technology that's capable of dimming all of these LED fixtures that are out in the market right now.
Okay.
Um, Through Lutron, oftentimes what happens is I'll program the system, and for those who don't know what Lutron is, right, or it allows the homeowner to control the lights through keypads on the walls instead of light switches.
Okay.
So if you can imagine just a keypad that has six buttons, we'll say, each button is programmed by me to do a specific thing. So for example, you walk into your kitchen and you want to get food ready. You're going to press a button that says prepare.
Hmm.
Now, then the kitchen is going to light up bright, give you enough light to get your food cooked and prepared. Or let's say you're going to go into your living room and you're going to relax. You're going to press a button on your keypad that says relax. And then what's going to happen is your recessed lighting is going to drop down to 25%. Your under cabinet lighting in your shelves or wherever they are, they're going to drop to 15, 20%. And it pretty much, maybe your chandelier will go to about 50%. And it's just going to paint this picture. It's going to create this environment that it is pretty much just allows you to relax. So that's what the system is known for there.
Yeah, and it's like it's basically to help make life easier. And me and you talked about this before in the past, where there is a lot of people when they think of smart home stuff like that, they just, you know, they don't know how to deal with it. They think it's very technical. They're afraid of it. They just don't, they think that their home's going to get up and walk away.
Yeah, yeah, and it's and I always I get that a lot with some of my customers. Some of my customers are 80 years old,
Yeah.
and they're very, uh, you know, they don't have a problem with the system. It comes down to who's programming it, right? It that's kind of what differentiates me from other people is I get to know the customers, and I'm sure there's many other people that do as well. But I try to sit down and thoroughly, get an idea of how these customers live in, their home, how competent they are with technology, and then I kind of program it, around their needs, around what they're able to comprehend, and it makes their life easier, pretty much.
Yeah, and the key thing, what you just said right there, and especially in that system, is get to know the customers, because there's a lot of salespeople out there too that are just going to try and sell them everything and anything they possibly can because they don't know about it. They don't have the knowledge of these systems. But where you're coming in and changing the game, and this is why I was so impressed with you when we first spoke, was you are taking the time to learn their wants and needs. And one of the examples you told me too, which was actually pretty cool, was the bathroom lighting too. Like when somebody gets up to go to the bathroom at night, that light, instead of blinding them,
Yeah,
turning on lights, it'll dim up to about 25%. They use the
yeah,
restroom and then they go back to bed, the light turns off.
yeah.
Stuff like that matters, and people, it's making life easier. But you're taking the time, which is huge, to get to know their process, their lives, how they operate, and then making it even easier for them, because that's what this stuff's all about too.
Exactly. Yeah, it should be making the homeowners' lives easier. I like to imagine the home is looking after the homeowner, and
Yeah.
the button that you press knows what time of the day it is, and then turns the light on accordingly. It kind of creates a different experience for the homeowner with their light switches.
Yeah, it's huge. Like, because ever since I started, obviously, me and you kind of talked about this too. We've done Control 4. We do some Lutron stuff too, and there's so much coming out and so much new technology, and it changes all the time, changes every year, and you're constantly probably having to learn about it too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's always a learning experience, but you do it to be able to tell the customers, okay, hey, if you put this on, and maybe you don't need it everywhere, maybe you need it in this general place instead of here, maybe you want it easier in your laundry room, you just put a paddle switch, or a decor switch on, and that's it, and on and off. But if or upstairs, you do that so your guests don't get all confused or whatever.
Right.
It's all about listening to them, figuring out what their wants and needs are. Some of the other stuff you said, I saw it on your website. It's like motorized shades. Does Lutron incorporate? So you got motorized shades, you got lighting, does it incorporate into, let's say, like down here we have it where it's like roll up screens, or actual roll up hurricane shutters, stuff like that? Does it
Yeah,
incorporate into that?
we could integrate. If there's a pair of contact closures, we could easily
Okay.
integrate into
As long
to.
as there's low voltage running and
Well,
everything,
yeah,
you can make it
yeah,
happen.
nothing too intelligent, nothing that has its own app or anything of that nature. That's kind of hard to integrate into the Lutron system. But,
Okay.
you know, things like garage doors, just
Mhm.
traditional lift masters that just have the two low voltage wires running to them. Those are traditional. Those are pretty easy to integrate into with the Lutron system. Uh, so yeah, to answer your question, we can do that if it's the right technology.
Yeah. Another thing I'm impressed with too, and this might throw some people off that are listening because I don't really know about it, is the programming that goes into it.
Yeah,
It's probably not easy. You said at 14 years old you were programming,
yeah, yeah,
and that's impressive too. So what goes into that? How long does that take? I mean, we're going to talk about the process too, but as far as the programming angle of it, I mean,
yeah,
are you
yeah,
bringing a computer there and programming all
yeah.
the different lighting to different tones and
Right, right. So traditionally, what I do is when I get a home, I kind of give a uh, basic programming method throughout the home, where it's pretty simple. Kind of gives the homeowner something to build from. Right. So what happens is I'll go in with my computer. Now the processor, the brains of the system, is connected to the network. Now I bring my computer in. A lot of times I'll go in the evening hours with the homeowners. and I'll go room to room and do live edits within the home to get the lighting levels to the exact place that they want it to be. So when I have that that relax button I was telling you about, I go into the homeowner's home, I get my laptop open, get in the living room, and I say, all right, guys, we're going to drop that pendant or those recessed cans. Where do you want these at? 25, this is 25%. Oh no, let's drop 5 more percent. All right, 20%. Okay, I like 20%. Now let's go to that chandelier. All right, we'll drop the chandelier a little bit. So it gives them the feel as though they're creating their system as well. And they tend to like it because it's they're programming it with me. It's not just me. Yeah. It's what they want, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see the homeowners kind of really get to experience it and paint their own picture. We'll say.
Yeah. This is the stuff I like too. Like hearing this, I'm like, that's awesome. I mean, because like you walk in, LED lights are bright, and anybody that has I mean, some people might have the older lights even with LED bulbs or whatever, but the new LED can fixtures they're super bright. I know you can adjust them, but if you hook a Lutron system up to and have that dim capability to where you can set it to, I know what is it, they come in, I think they come in 1 through 4 on stages or something on the small 4-inch can lights or something like that. So. Yeah, it's like 1 through 4. So.
I just got certified in Avalo fixtures.
That's what we're using too, and I think the Avalos are 1 through 4s or whatever, and the 4 is the brightest, and it might even go up to 5. Anyway, so like having the Lutron system and you going into the different rooms with them and being able to control that lighting to a certain extent instead of just them walking in and it's bright as can be. Because when you look at those things, you look up. You're seeing stars,
absolutely. I like the warm glow. Right? So Apollo has the warm glow fixtures, and that kind of gets that incandescent feel. It kind of replicates that incandescent feel, and that's what I would recommend across the board.
That's exactly. I mean, and that's another thing too. I was going to ask you, as far as somebody that's building a home too, what are you recommending as far as lighting in general? Is there certain specific lights?
That's a great question. So LEDs across the board, but just making sure that you have the proper technology to dim those LEDs. There's nothing worse than investing 60, 80 grand into a lighting control system, or however much, and then having lights that flicker when they turn off. Now, for some people, they don't really care. I've been in this industry a long time, and it's a different experience when you have every fixture in a room that's in perfect sync with one another, and they look like they're all turning on at the same level at the same time.
Yeah,
I'm saying it's a completely different feel. And if you're going to invest the money into it, make sure you're getting the right LED drivers. Make sure you're getting the right recessed cans to work with your system.
So that's one thing I'm actually going to ask you about personally too. So I bought some Lutron switches, some dimmer switches. You can link them up to your phone or whatever. One of the fixtures I put it on, it started pulsating, like going like this, and the dimmer was not working. And then another one I have currently has a dimmer on it that's over the dining room table, and there's a dimmer, and at moments it'll start flickering. Right. So what's with the pulsating? Where it's
so it depends. One, it depends on which dimmer you have. You could and then also you got to look at the type of load that you're trying to dim. If it's electronic low voltage or magnetic low voltage, those require special dimmers. But Lutron had actually just come out with the new Maestro Pro, which is supposed to be able to dim everything pretty well. So this I'm still learning. They just dropped this product recently, and sometimes you can get on Lutron's website and there's actually a spec sheet that shows all of the fixtures and how well each dimmer dims these fixtures. So sometimes you're just kind of out of luck, at least, and
I think that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got the Pro though, so that's another.
Or you could purchase the right driver. So they have high loom drivers and various other drivers to help handle that. properly.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering too, because I was looking at, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This thing is now. I ended up putting on that specific light. I actually ended
Yeah.
up putting just a regular paddle dimmer on. It was a Lutron, the normal one, just with the actual slide dimmer instead of the automated one where you can go
Yeah.
through Wi-Fi. But and that works fine. But it was just that one, the Wi-Fi dimmer for some reason it just would flash. So I
Yeah.
looked up online. They
It's a
said it
huge,
could be they said it's the load. I think the light bulbs that I was using
yeah,
is
it's
too,
low type.
because when I took out two of the bulbs, then it worked. That was that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
too many bulbs. Um, so uh, let's go into. I wanted to talk about let's talk a little bit more about. I know you're in lighting and stuff like that. I wanted to talk about the tech more too. Like, as we both know, seeing more and more homes are getting connected to the internet. People are either doing it themselves or they're having somebody like you come in and do it. You can literally control your entire home from your phone. What products are out there that you would, well, I mean, obviously you're doing Lutron, so this is a tough question, but what would you recommend besides lighting somebody uh, do the whole system, as far as if
Like the
somebody wanted
umbrella
to go to
system.
the extent? Yeah,
Yeah.
what would you
Yeah.
recommend?
I would recommend Control 4. Right now, that's what I see. A lot of the audio video guys that I work with, they're using Control 4 or Savant.
Okay.
Now, what I like, Control 4 from my understanding is a lot easier. It's more of a plug and play. They kind of have drivers and things pre-programmed to help with the integration.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's very efficient and it seems to be working in the homes that I'm in. Now Savant, on the other hand, is more the experience of using that app. I like it. Like I think it's a great experience. Like it's very smooth. It's a beautiful app, to say the least. Um, and it looks really nice in rooms, with that iPad dock station. So I think it comes down to Control 4, and then Savant. But another thing too, it's also your programmer. It's you could go in there, and if you have a skilled programmer, someone who's good at what they do, they're going to make any system work for you.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to, is just finding the right guy to come in and provide your system.
Yeah, I've worked with both of those, Control 4 being the main one that our guy's currently doing, and it is the easy system. It's
Yeah.
pad on the wall, you touch it, has your kind of apps, or it says what it's supposed to do. You got your shutter and shades, you got this, and it's very basic, very easy for somebody to learn. I
Mhm.
deal with a lot of older people that aren't as, I'll use my dad as an example, aren't as technology savvy, that he'd
Yeah.
rather throw his iPhone at a wall than figure out how to use it. And he's slamming
Right
it with
on.
his
Oh
finger.
yeah.
This thing doesn't
Yeah.
work. So whatever's easiest is usually best. I've come to find too, with a lot of people, but it's still a lot of people, even the older demographic, are starting to transition into control lighting and everything too, and having that proper. And that's why having you on was such a big thing, for my show, is just
Yeah.
having that, like you said, having that person that knows how to automate it, takes the time to sit down and get exactly the lighting these people want, is huge. And
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people aren't seeing too. I mean, you can have somebody do the home automation, you could have them put in dimmers and so on, but
Mhm.
the key thing with the lighting, like you said, is having that lighting to the perfect spot, to where it's not
Absolutely.
bothering them, their eyes,
Yeah.
that's huge. And I never even thought about that
And
too until
also
me and
having
you
the right
talked.
compatible fixtures.
Yeah,
That's something
that's
on
another
my
thing.
end that's so important. When I first get on a job, if I'm not familiar with the lighting designer, I work with a really really reputable lighting designer here in Cleveland, named Ron Friedman. He does a lot of work across the U.S. A great portfolio work. But when I he knows Lutron well, and he always specs the right fixtures. Now, when I get on a job that I'm not sure of the fixtures, or that's the first thing I ask is, can I get the fixtures, get the load types, make sure that my system could control this well. Because what happens is, if I don't do that, I'll be at the end of the job doing a walkthrough with the homeowners, trying to, show them how to control their lights, and they see flickering lights, and that makes me look bad, and I don't like that. So I always try to make sure, and anybody who's going to get a Lutron system, I would highly recommend to really, really pay attention to the type of fixtures you're getting in your home, and how well they work with the Lutron system.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah, hands down.
That's huge though too, because even me being in the building industry too, I'm pretty sure our guy does the walkthrough and so on, but these people pick out what fixtures they want, and then he kind of has to tie them in. You're more on the lighting end, where you're showcasing how important he's doing full on home automation, where you're more focused on the lighting end and having clean light throughout and not having any kind of issues later on and so on too. It's very interesting, because you always think that, I'm a prime example of it. I bought fixtures, and you always think every switch is going to work for it, and then I'm sitting there going back and forth from the circuit breaker to try and make the thing work, and it's not working, and
it's a pain in the butt.
And you learn, you don't think of this stuff too, because of what's compatible, what's not, what switches need to be where, and so on. And it's huge. It's what you just said. People that are dealing with lighting, that are listening to this, should take that into consideration, that they need to ask that person, are my lights going to be compatible with, whether it's a control force system, any kind of system they end up using. Am I going to have issues later on? Because that's a question that now I'm definitely going to focus on more too. Being in a high end home.
Well, it's I've been on projects where and it's just a lack of education within the lighting control industry, with electricians and designers and things like that. They they look at, I was at a home, and this guy had spent so much money on his control system, and the company came in and provided him these little night lights throughout the that sit above the baseboard in the hallways. And these things just didn't dim. And they had their own means of control on them. Like, you could double tap them, and they turn on to different brights. It was just silly. But I mean, they didn't know, they didn't understand. They just thought, well, this will fix the issue. This will give hallway lighting, and that's it. But my system can't integrate to those lights. Like, I can't control them, because they actually have a photo cell on them. I think they detected light for themselves, and then they turned on. It's like, don't put those on the job with the Lutron system. The Lutron system will take care of that. Like, don't do that. But I had explained it to him, because at the end of the day, from the integrator's perspective, from my perspective, it falls back on us, because we are the people who are going in, programming these lights with the homeowner, and when these things don't work, we look silly, right? And that's kind of where I'm at with the whole fixtures. I just had this fire in me that came up, from this last job, because these fixtures are not dimming with the system, and the system, it's such a nice system. It's such a good system when it's working perfectly.
Going off of that too, it's everybody working together perfectly in a transition too, because if you think about it, no offense to the designers or the decorators or the electricians, electricians are just going to put it in, and then the decorators are going to pick out what's pretty, or what's in style. So it's them working with you, which, not everybody has a you, in which if they are getting into that kind of home and they are getting into lighting integration, they need that. But that's where you're advancing and what you're doing too. And I don't know if you see that, but it's a good niche to be in, because with these, especially in the high end stuff, it's huge right now. The lighting is big, and when you told me, I'll go back to the bathroom thing, walking into a bathroom at night where light blinds you, unless you have a night light in there, it's just
burns the retina, man.
and it's huge to be able to have that control, to be able to have everything working in sync too, because not all lighting does. It's hard. It's something that's very hard to do, but it's
Yeah,
something that people don't think of top of mind right away, you know, and
yeah, yeah.
like I said, the electricians and the designers aren't.
And not many people sit down with the homeowner to educate them on
Yeah.
this, it's called variable based programming, and it's a method that you could use within the Lutron software. Now, when you have people who are doing the Savant, doing the Control 4, doing the audio, the video, the security, and the lighting, well, then you have an issue there. You're not going to have, somebody who's niched down, and able to fully express what the system could do, fully educate the homeowner what the system could do. Fortunately, I can, because that's all I do. I don't do the audio and the video security right now. So I'm just very dialed in on just the lighting,
Mhm.
and it's working. It is. So
Yeah, it's like I said, it's something that a lot of people need to think about. It's something that, a lot of people make the mistake of not thinking about until things are done, you know,
yeah, yeah,
and that's a problem too. But where I wanted to kind of go off of this too is the pricing situation with home automation. It's obviously not cheap. It comes with a nice hefty tag on some of the stuff that you're doing. How do you see pricing being able to support, like, I went to Lowe's the other day and I bought just a Lutron, dimmer, and it's one of the Wi-Fi dimmers, and that thing was $54. How do you see them coming down with price to get more people automated with homes and lighting? Do you ever see that happening?
yeah. I think the Homeworks QSX, the high end system, that's going to stay where it's at.
Okay.
That's going to come down. I think they're going to create. I think the products like the Wi-Fi dimmer that you bought from Home Depot or Lowe's, I think they're going to keep coming out with things of that nature. But as far as when we get into the luxury side of building and luxury homes, I think the price point's going to be high. You're looking
Yeah.
at well over an average QSX system, Homeworks QSX system, well over 25,000 at least
Hmm.
for full system. Now, for your mid-size homes, there's the Radio Route 2 system, which can range between 5 to 25,000, or it all depends on how many rooms you're trying to automate.
Hmm.
Uh, but that's kind of just a picture as to what it can be. But then there's the Caseta system, which is the system that you'd buy for a regular sized home. And those, yeah, you'll always be able to find those at Home Depot, Lowe's. Lutron, they had to do that. They have all these other competitors coming out, right? So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, they have to. I mean, even with that though, I feel like
yeah,
they need to get competitive. I mean, well, Lowe's is the only other competitions around. I mean, I don't. Lutron's Lutron.
yeah, yeah,
This is how I am. I go into Lowe's and I see the other competition, but the Lutron brand. Because I deal with Lutron on regular switches, and you just know it's a quality dimmer. It's going to last versus the
yeah,
cheaper route too.
yeah,
Should they get more competitive with the cheaper end of things, or I should say not cheaper, but then more inexpensive? And yeah, they probably could to have more people buy their product, but I'm
yeah,
buying it because it's a good brand. You get what you pay for. I'm a big believer in that because obviously that's how we sell our houses as a builder. Um, I get where you're saying on it being expensive. One of the things I wanted to talk about too is why it's expensive, and you brushed on it because a lot of people, when I deal with them with Control 4 and lighting systems and stuff like that, they get sticker shock.
mhm,
They see the amount, they see, well, wow, why is it that amount? But they don't understand the amount of legwork that goes into it, the amount
yeah,
of work that you're putting into it with the programming, the wiring, all this stuff. So talk about that, the amount of
yeah.
legwork that goes into these things, your process a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So, on my end, I have to go in and I have to educate. So if
Mhm.
I'm working with an electrician or a builder who's never used or installed a homeworks system, I have to go in there and I have to spend time educating them and making sure that they're doing the right, pulling the wire to the right places, make sure that lighting loads are being landed properly in the right place in the panel,
Mhm.
uh, landing the modules properly. So there's the whole education side of it all, the design side, which is sitting down and actually creating the blueprint to, translate to the builder, architect, and electrician. There's that legwork there, and then just making sure that the job is thoroughly done, right? And then the programming side, it's actually sitting down and building the software from scratch, creating the rooms, going in, creating the specking, doing the load calculations for all the lighting zones in each room, sizing them up with the right dimming, the right dimmer, putting them on the right module within the system. So it's very complex, very, it's intricate,
Yeah.
it's very detail oriented, and it takes a lot of time to design a software. I mean, I have a home that I probably put, goodness, thousands of hours into this computer, into the software. It's a 35,000 square foot home in Cleveland here. And I mean, I programmed this thing three times before you're satisfied, 2 to 3 times.
Wow.
And, yeah. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. That's just on my end. I mean, and then the electricians, I traditionally have the electricians run the wire, and they pull the wire to, it's a 4 conductor that's used throughout the whole system, which is really nice for the shades, for the keypads. It's the same wire. So that's kind of legwork there.
It's a lot of legwork, because I see it, with our guys too, an amount of wire and all that, and then working hand in hand with electricians too. I mean, you have to constantly be on. It's a big part of the house. It's a big part of the home building process in general. It's huge. It's one of the biggest steps. I mean, that's why me as a home builder, we do an electrical walkthrough, just to make sure all that's perfect. But then we're going to do low voltage walkthroughs too with our guy there, and have meetings and what the capabilities he can do, and everything has to tie together. It's all piece. Everything's a piece in a building block too. For somebody that's new to this whole thing too, and you've been doing really good at kind of explaining it. I understand it very well of what you're saying, but let's talk about like your process a little bit more too, like from your starting process with the homeowner, the pre-planning, to all the way through, to the end. How's your process work? What should somebody look for in the process with somebody with Lutron or getting into control lighting? Let's talk about that, so they know exactly what they should.
So first off, they should be looking for somebody who's competent and who has integrity. That's the first thing I look for, I would say, for any of this kind of work, right? But with the process, it's I first, starting out, when I land a job or get awarded the job, or however you want to word it, I try to educate the homeowner on the keypads and the functionality of the keypads, and I try to get them thinking about how the system works. And then I propose my design for the system. Okay. And then I ask, all right, well, hey, do you want a keypad here? Yes or no? Do walkthrough with them. I say, yeah, would like it. No, we'll just do switches, whatever it is. I try to get them to design it with me, so that they're doing it with me, right? And I try to educate them as I'm building it. So then once we solidify that, once it's a go, well, then I get in with the builder, the electricians, and I give them my load schedule. Now, they know how to wire all the fixtures, put them on one circuit, and then where to pull that wire to, right? So I might have a panel in the laundry room, and maybe a panel, on the other side of the home in the basement, or wherever it is. So then I make sure that they're pulling the wire in the proper areas. And then as time goes on, I get the keypads. Well, then I also back that up with the electricians. I have them pull that 4 conductor I was talking about earlier to all the various locations for the keypads, for the controls. Then after that, after the drywall's up, paint's finished, I come in, I install the keypads, or have them install the keypads, either way, electricians. And then from there on, it's, I consult with the audio video company to make sure the network is up and running, that I have access to that my processor is sitting on the network. And then I go around and I test each fixture, I go into each room, I look at, all right, recessed cans, are they dimming properly? What range am I getting at? And if the fixture does not dim properly, I trim it. And the software, they give us the ability to trim the lighting load. So let's say it gets down to about 10% and it starts to flicker.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want the homeowner to deal with that flickering. So what I do is I say, all right, fixture, when you get to 10%, you're shutting off. So it kind of covers up the fixture's inability to function properly. So I do that throughout the whole home. And then I do my standard programming, like I was telling you about earlier. And then from then on, homeowner moves in, a few days, a week or so goes by, and then they kind of get an idea as to, I always tell my homeowners, I say, listen, this system is designed around you. I want you to go around, I want you to press the buttons, figure out what you like, what you want each button to do, and what you don't like. And sometimes they like what I did the first time. Actually, a lot of times they're like, oh, this is great. This is awesome. And they're fine with it. And then there's a lot of times where they don't like it. They want to do something else. So then what I end up doing is I do nighttime programming. That's what I call it. And I usually, it's on me for the first few months or first month. I go out there, I'm with the homeowners, and we do walkthroughs throughout the whole home. I'm setting time clock events throughout the home. So within the Lutron system, there's an astronomical time clock event. So it's an equation that sits in the processor that pretty much allows the system to know the position of where it's located around the sun. That makes sense. So
yeah.
So daylight saving times, it's all accounted for. So what we do is we do time clock events. So what I'll do is I'll get the homeowner outside with my computer. So when the sun sets, all your exterior lights are going to drop and go to this state. So the soffit cans might drop to 15%. The lanterns and the courtyard or whatever, they're going to go to 25%, right? And we kind of create this picture. So every single evening when the sun sets, it goes to this place. So we do it together. So that's kind of part of the process there as well.
That's awesome. And I
really
mean,
a bunch I just threw out there. So
well, that's the thing with it too. You're continuing. Obviously, you're probably continuing the relationship with them throughout that process. If they need a change, they can call you. You'd be there in a heartbeat too.
Absolutely.
Because after the fact, obviously, you're dealing with a big, crucial part of the home. So I'm sure you've come across people that want something changed later on because this light should be brighter. I need a reading light here or whatever. I'm sure you deal with after the fact as well.
And I could remotely log into that. Sometimes, if I could set it up to where I could just remotely log into it. They say, hey, I want this button to do this. And then they do it. And then there's also,
you can mess with them from a distance and start making their lights strobe and
get the heck out of them, man, remotely.
Act like the house is haunted, right?
And then also there's the app too that gives them the ability to program the buttons themselves. But a lot of times the homeowners, they don't like to mess with that. They want me to do it. So I don't have a problem. I just go out there and catch up with them and make the changes.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk to you about too, because it's huge to me, is quality, obviously, and you give a quality experience. You're going above and beyond for these customers too, but a lot of people, the problem is in your business and any kind of industry, but especially in the construction world, a lot of people shop price. And us as a builder, I've said this, we're not the cheapest builder. We're not the most expensive, but we have our price. We're going to be higher than quite a few builders just because of the quality that we deliver. We're so big on that. How are you dealing with somebody with price? What should customers know up front when discussing pricing for lighting systems and your products and services?
Yeah. So, my customers, they traditionally don't even question it. They know what they want for the most part, and they trust me to deliver it. So, it is a higher end product. Not everybody can afford the system, and that's just the basics. Now, there are systems below this, like I was talking about the Radio Rod 2 system, which is made for homes of a smaller scale. It's a smaller system. It's nowhere near as intricate, and that could be used in a lot of homes. And I'll do that here and there, but for the most part, as far as pricing goes, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a quality product, and not everybody has.
Well,
right?
It's like what you said, you get what you pay for, but it's all that goes into it too. It's hard to justify price on something like that too.
Yeah.
It's a good way of explaining it to people. It's like with me with construction. I explain, they'll either want it or they don't, but I explain how what we deliver, the experience. I can showcase one of our houses. They see it, they see the quality. I've had builders come in our houses and they're like, wow, I mean, you guys do good work. And that's the way I sell us on. I don't sell on price. I mean, I get it every day. What's your square foot price? I actually did a podcast on it. That question makes me cringe. I just got a message off our website. Hey, what's your price per square foot? Right away, I know that's a price-driven customer. And I don't really, being a custom builder, I don't really have a price per square foot because we're doing everything so different. And that's always my answer. It's hard to give you a set price per square foot, especially now with things fluctuating the way they are. But back similar to you, Lutron's a high quality product. You said you had a lower end package that people can do, but the price kind of is the price. You're paying for what you get. You're paying for your time. You're paying for you to sit and do all the things you just explained and then go back. Exactly.
And it's the same. It's the same with you. Like they're paying you for your design, for your expertise. What you've been doing. Like this is what you do. You're good at it. Right? So you're gonna get what you paid for at the end of the day. And it's a design. It's not everybody can design the same way.
No, and it's like you said too, you're always learning. I'm the same way. I'm always learning what we can do to get better. This podcast helps too, obviously, because I'm learning about Lutron right now as we speak. It's something I've learned just sitting here with you. I've learned a lot of stuff I didn't know. And it's so important to keep learning and growing, to progress as a builder or as somebody, as a contractor in general, to do the best job you possibly can. And in your field, I mean, everything's always changing. Technology is just left and right. You blink and something's new. It's just, so one thing I wanted to ask you too is, where do you see the future of home automation going?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think artificial intelligence is going to change the game. I think when that starts to make its way into residential homes, it's gonna add a whole new dimension to home automation. I think that I think there's going to be a sensing aspect to these systems where they can sense what's going on and adjust accordingly. For example, you're going to play a scary movie and the system is going to know that you are watching a scary movie. So the scene in a home, it is creepy to think about it. But I really think that's what's coming. And then also I think voice control is going to make a huge introduction, like with Amazon Alexa, things like that. We're kind of getting exposed to it now. But there's this new system out. I don't think it's new, but it's called Josh.ai. And it's a voice automation system where you can actually talk to, hey, Josh, turn the lights on, or, do this, do that, turn the TV on to channel whatever. Okay. And then boom, it goes. So I think that's going to be huge. Talking to your home like it's a person. It's kind of creepy to think about, but I think that's the future, man. I really think the AI is going to change the game.
Well, it's crazy what you said with you put on a scary movie, all of a sudden the lights dim down too. That I'd get
shades drop and temperature cools down or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes super cold in the house, and
man, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I have no doubts that, I think we're very close to that now. I know we did a home where we priced it. They didn't end up building yet, but they wanted Alexa automation in every single room where you could walk in and say, Alexa, do this, Alexa, do that.
Yeah.
it was very expensive to do. It was control 4, connected to the control 4 and then the lighting systems and so on. But it's impressive. It's impressive where you're going. That goes back to your home getting up and walking away thing. It's like, what extent, then you got the people like, my mom still fears that Alexa's listening to her and so on,
Oh, that's always going to be around. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean,
It might be, it probably is. I mean, you say something on your cell phone and then an ad pops up on Instagram. Everybody has a cell phone. It's all listening. That's the thing. It's like she
it's
said,
creepy.
my mom's actually said that to me, and I'm like, you know what? Because I got Alexas in a lot of my rooms, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't care what are they going to listen to me about? Like
Yeah.
business. What are they? I don't have really much. They're pretty bored if they are listening.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I know
But,
exactly what you mean, man. It's kind of creepy though. I mean, especially for the older generation. That's creepy.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I see where they're coming
We've
from.
kind of grown into it, I
Yeah.
guess, is a way to look
Yeah.
at it. We've kind of grown up with it. We've had iPhones, we've had all that, and the technology keeps growing with us. I
Hmm.
guess to where a lot like our parents didn't have that,
Yeah.
and now technology kind of just got thrown at them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
Kind of
me and you
smack
right
them in
now. We're
the face.
sitting having a conversation on a Zoom call where
Yeah.
you
It
never
is.
would have imagined to do that in the
Yeah.
past. So it's
Crazy.
a lot more to come, I'm sure, too.
Yeah.
And kind of getting to obviously, like, let's go on brush on that a little bit. We're getting to the end here, but you talk about, and it's so important in your business, product knowledge. I mean, you should have as much product knowledge as possible, especially in what you're doing. So how are you applying this strategy? What are you doing to stay ahead
Yeah.
of the game in
Yeah.
your business?
So I've been absorbed into Lutron. Lutron had just come out with when COVID hit. Lutron had really spent a lot of time in their LCI learning. I think it's Learning Hub. It's a place where guys like me can go on and continue our education, the product line and design concepts and things of that nature. Uh, and I've just been absorbed by it. So that's one thing I'm doing personally now. I'm trying to get these courses in weekly when I have downtime. And then also they send out emails. Lutron's a great company.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Lutron. I think they're phenomenal what they do. Even as
Yeah.
far as education was, yeah,
Well, it's like I said too. It's such a name brand, known brand too
yeah,
that they've
yeah,
developed themselves and got to where they are for a reason. And they've got
absolutely,
to, and they are higher priced for a reason too. Go back to my Lowe's example. You walk in
yeah,
Lowe's, you see smart switches everywhere, and Lutron's the cream of the crop. It's going to be
yeah,
the higher price switch, but every switch we put on that was Lutron never had an issue.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And our electricians are kind of doing Lutron as the standard because they're
yeah,
connecting to those LEDs
yeah,
better than anything that we're using now.
yeah.
So
And Lutron, just to back up, I wouldn't be where I'm at without Lutron tech support. I mean, these guys, their tech support is phenomenal, and if
gotta have it. Yeah.
they're just an amazing tech support, so that's for sure.
Well, you gotta have it with something like that too, where it's
Yeah,
such the capabilities and every. I mean, you gotta. It better be. I hope it's 24/7 too, because something
yeah,
goes bad.
so, yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, let's talk about this. Like I said, getting towards the end, and I've asked this question in the past to a lot of people too, and I think it's so important. Like we brushed on customer service, how you're handling it. Let's go a little deeper on that, but let's talk about like your long-term relationships with people. How are you continuing it? How are you growing your business further with how are you referral? How's that
yeah,
happening?
yeah.
What are you doing to progress that?
Yeah, so I have a really good relationship with builders, and there's a electrical company here that electrical contractor. He's awesome. So I try to stay up to date with everybody that I work with, and kind of just call them. We're friends.
Yeah.
We're kind of friends outside the business. So I think that helps a lot too. We have personal relationships in that realm. As far as with my customers, I'm always reaching out. I try to reach out to them. If I don't hear from them, say, hey, how's everything going? How's your system going? And they're busy people. People
Mm-hmm.
of homes like this, they're traditionally pretty busy. So
Mm-hmm.
not all the time do they reach out. But they appreciate. I know they do that. I kind of reach out and try to keep tabs on them and how their system's going. and make sure everything's up to date, make sure everything's working smoothly. So pretty much I just always have them on the forefront of my mind, you know, and they're my people, they're my customers. So, so I put a lot of effort into their homes. So I try to stay up to date with them.
Yeah, we're the same way. It's just it's always being there when they need you to, and that's one of the main things. Like we just closed on a couple of houses. It's taking care of people, and then I just had another guy, like I do home watch for him and everything. He had a plumbing issue. Thank God I do his home watch. But I just went there and I've been at his house every day this week because he had a pipe. It just where we build right now, Marco Island, it's some of the worst water ever, and it just corrodes anything. And even with the PEX piping on the connection, it actually ate through the connector because it was copper, and split it. And then he had a pipe, that water was shooting out inside the wall. Well, I went over there, I saw. Obviously, he's probably lucky I'm his home watch guy, because a normal person would not have figured it out. Saw water on the floor. First thing I looked at was the hot water heater. That was fine. Next thing I looked at, I was trying to figure it out. I'm like walking around. I'm like, where is this water coming from? I could not. I opened his freezer in the garage, couldn't find it. And the freezer was fine. And so then I'm looking at his stucco wall, because obviously our finished floors are high and it's stucco. Then it goes to drywall on the house side, and I see it's wet. So I start touching the wall, and the stucco's porous. So the water was coming through the stucco, through the wall. And I'm like, ah, crap. So first thing I went in the attic, looked at the line. There was a line running down that wall. I didn't see anything leaking in the attic, no roof leaks, nothing. So I went inside. I'm talking on the phone, trying to figure it out too. And I touched the countertop. My hand was soaked, and it was just the whole countertop was covered in water, pulled off right where the hood vent was. So there's a line running down that wall. But long story short, I got a plumber there right away. We got the plumber there right away, and then the plumber fixed everything. I've been there every single day emptying a dehumidifier to get the water out of the wall and the moisture. Every single day I'll stop there and empty it for him. That's the stuff you do to go above and beyond.
I'm sure that's why you're where you're at now, man.
Yeah, and he's already like, thank you. He's been texting me because he's got cameras, and so he sees me doing it, and I'm just doing it for him to help him out. Because he's not here. He's up north in Michigan, and it's just doing the right thing, man. That's what it's all about, and that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, having those solid relationships and building that trust, it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into you personally. Like this question, everybody that listens to my show, they hear me say it every time. Episode 100, I'm going to have everybody's answer to this question on that episode. It's going to be awesome. I got 30 more to go. You're episode 70. So it's going to be episode 100. It's going to be a long one because I got everybody on here saying this, but the answers have been so awesome. So what about you personally? I mean, you're in the process of building an amazing company. Big things are happening to you. What lessons have you learned throughout your journey that we should all apply to our own lives or businesses that can help us grow?
Yeah. I'm a big biblical guy. I'm a big Bible guy. I read the Bible a lot. And I'm big on wisdom. And anytime I have a problem, I always try to seek wisdom for my problem. And that's something that it allows me to see things from a different perspective, more detached perspective, we'll say. So that's huge on my end. It's just trying to seeking wisdom, and it allows me. Been many times where I've been so frustrated with things, and we all get, people screw us over or whatever, and being able to detach yourself from really what's happening and look at it from a different angle, that has been huge for me. So that, and maintaining a level of integrity. I always tell myself, like, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, even if I embarrass myself, right? Like getting on this podcast, like I told you I was going to do it, so I'm going to do it. So I stick to my word. That's what I try to do. So just having a high level of integrity, and even if I look silly, like I said, I'm still going to execute. I'm still going to deliver. I'm going to do my best. I think that that's huge for me. That's what got me to where I'm at. There are times where I look silly. Was 19 years old wiring homes at 20,000 square foot homes, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I messed up a lot of times, man, but I think my integrity is what carried me through. Um, that and just, striving for excellence and everything you do. There's a term in the Bible. It's a avado or avoda. It's actually used to as a Hebrew word to describe work. It's actually the same as worship. It's the same word. So how we work is how we worship God, essentially.
Hmm.
So that's kind of my core beliefs, but that's kind of where I come from when I do anything. So I try to provide excellence. Uh, so yeah, those three things there: wisdom,
Yeah.
integrity, and excellence.
I
Yeah,
mean, that's a really good answer. I'm not gonna complain about. I mean, I always get great answers to that question, and I love what you said right there too,
that's a deep
because I
question.
mean, it's one of the major things there too is the integrity. I mean, you just have to go for it. You can't think about what or can't care about what people think. Me and you were talking about like social media and posting and getting past, that thing in the back of your head that people care about what you like. I'm at the point now you'll see on my social media where I just don't care. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that are like, oh, well, look at him, this and that, but what are you saying when I'm doing things because of those posts? I'm selling real estate on people. The people that matter that see your stuff are going to see your stuff, and that's going to influence them, and they're going to care about it, and
Yeah,
that's the thing. And like you said with your stories, like dropping some wisdom to people, that's
yeah,
huge, because
yeah,
somebody out there might be having a crappy day,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
go on Instagram, you're the first one that pops up on their story, they hit it, and then you deliver something that changes their whole perspective, their whole day for the better. And
yeah,
that's how God works too. He
yeah,
works in all of us in different ways. Now we're more connected than ever, which is good and bad in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of good that can come out of it too with like stuff like you're doing.
yeah, yeah. And that's the thing is, people's opinions. I mean, they don't pay my bills, right? It's the opinions of certain people that pay my bills. And those. And I'm not saying I want to have a bad rep, but if I have something I'm going to say, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
And for me, um, life is short, man. Life is so short, and we're all here for a reason. And if we have something to say and we feel it in our heart, like we're going to say it, we should say
Hmm.
it. Just put it out there. It doesn't hurt. You might be uncomfortable for a little bit, but over time, that uncomfortableness, it fades and just becomes part of who
You
you
just
are.
don't, yeah, you just
Yeah,
don't care. You just got to
just
get
don't.
past it
I
though.
don't care. Yeah, it's just there's so many other things to worry about. Um, so yeah, I quite frankly I don't care, but it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's freedom, right? And that's kind of
Hmm.
why we have God, right? To free ourselves from things like that. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's truly living free. So
Hmm. No, I love
yeah,
that. It's true too, because a lot of people live in a world of being trapped. They live in a world of, like with me, like if I post something, and we're getting deeper on this, but that's the show's the show. It's my show. I can do this.
exactly.
So, I mean, but you get in these play, a lot of people live for the thumbs up, the likes and stuff like that. Me, I post something, I don't even look at the likes, I don't even look at how many people. I just post it because I know it's good content, and I know it's part of my business. I know it's going to better me, it's going to maybe help somebody too,
Yeah,
and like with like stories and stuff, people are looking at who's like their story or read their stories and looking at all that stuff. If I do a story, I don't even look. Like I just did it. I throw it out there. I don't care. I go on with my day and my business and my life and so on. And that's part of the not caring thing too. When you're just there producing content and trying to help people and deliver good quality stuff to people, to like this podcast too, like I check my numbers on this because I want to make sure people are listening, but I look at my graph and it's constantly at a steady pace up since I've been doing it. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm in like, I don't even know how. And shout out to everybody in the different countries that are listening to me right now.
yeah,
There's like 20 some different countries that listen to my show, and thank you for that. Like it's crazy though. And if I'm helping these people, that's awesome. That's what this is all about. Then it's getting past that point of caring, and like when you get past that
yeah,
point, you just do it, it becomes routine, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were talking about that.
yeah. And I think, yeah, no, absolutely. I think as we develop in this technology, this world we're living in, video content's going to be huge.
Hmm.
Um, the first people to really catch on to it and stop caring what everybody thinks of them, I think those are going to be the winners.
Yeah.
And there's so many people who are afraid to put themselves out there because they fear the opinions of others. That's not life. That's not living. Living
Mm-hmm.
is being able to do what you do without worrying about what people think of you. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not always easy, but it gets easier. And I think you push through walls. And because I used to be that way, but for some reason, I put content out there and people reach out to me like, man, I showed my kids this, or you really helped me out, man, like that. And those little things right there, we're all in this life together. We all are. We're all one in some way. And when we have the opportunity to help other people out through our previous experiences, God, life, the universe, whatever, has a way to deliver and come around and provide that same thing to you and put
Mm-hmm.
you into a bit different place because you helped somebody else. You were vulnerable enough, you were strong enough,
Mm-hmm.
to come, talk about things and help other people out. And in return, Proverbs talks about it. It's like that law of reciprocity, something comes and helps you out in return. And
Mm-hmm.
it never fails. It's just getting over yourself, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, getting past the point where
Yeah.
you think everybody really cares, but in all honesty, not a lot of people really care what you're doing. They care about their own lives, especially the older we get. They're more focused on
Yeah.
them. If
Yeah.
you give them good content, they're gonna watch
Yeah.
it. They're gonna, and it's crazy. The more you do it, long story short, the more you do it, the
Yeah.
more people take notice of it, the more people compliment on it,
Yeah.
and you learn that you're like, all right, this is actually fun, and people
Yeah.
like it, just
That's
go.
wisdom, man. It's
Yeah.
wisdom to be able to see that for what it actually is. Nobody really cares. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's being, I call that wisdom. It's being able to come from a place, a detached perspective, look at what's going on, and you know, see it for
Hmm.
what it actually is, and not what you
Yeah.
think it is. So, no, that's deep subject, man. Super deep. I love it. I could talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah, we
yeah,
probably we go on for another couple hours with this. I think I've had other
uh,
guests too, where we start getting deep towards the end, and you can,
yeah,
man. It's an important topic, and people
yeah,
just, long story short, people just need to work, do what they need to do to get ahead. I'm big on that, and
yeah, yeah,
I praise anybody that like give, their good job to you. If you're doing it, you're going out there, you're grinding, just go and do it, man. That's the
yeah,
best advice that I can give anybody too, because a lot of people are afraid. They're afraid of majority of the stuff people are afraid of is other people's reactions,
yeah,
and that's the biggest fear that everybody has, is everybody else's reactions,
yeah,
whether it's family, friends, whatever, acquaintances.
yeah,
But in reality, your family's going to support you whatever you do. Your friends are going to probably, if they don't support you, they're not your friends. And the people that follow you or whatever are probably following you because they want you to have success, or they want to see what you are doing. So that's why they're
yeah,
following you. They're following you for a reason. More
right,
than likely, they're not going to judge you for what you're doing. If you're doing something right and you're giving value, I
yeah,
mean, it goes tenfold, like you said. So
yeah,
it's worth
yeah.
it.
Oh, I want to add to that too. It's a servitude mentality. It's being of service to others.
Hmm.
When you're utilizing your life experience to serve those around you, you're coming from a different place. You're not coming from a place of, oh, this is who I am. No, you're coming from a place of, this is what I've been through. This is what I have to offer the world, and
Yeah,
it's
totally.
just natural. Yeah, yeah. So it's the same point. It's the same thing. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, see, and it benefits you with business. So if you guys are looking for somebody that does lighting control right there, that's
There
somebody
we
you
go,
need.
man. I'm ready to
So
serve.
another thing I like to ask too is, like, I always ask about your past. Let's talk about your future. So where do you see Joshua Kenny being in 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years from? Where are you going to be?
Yeah, so 5-year goal is to purchase 120 acres of land and build a home on it. I'm in all these beautiful homes. I want my own now, but I grew up in the middle of the woods, so I love the country setting. I love the peacefulness behind it. And that's why I'd like to raise a family at some point. So 120 acres of land, that's my goal. And a nice home. And then also, I'd like to get into other businesses, man. Real estate, and we're talking earlier, a gym. I'm so passionate about bodybuilding. I used to compete in bodybuilding. So I love training, and it's something I do, something I did before the internet, before social media, right? I did this before it was cool. So I want my own gym, and hopefully here soon I'll have that, and other businesses. And as far as the lighting goes, I'd like to land some bigger projects. I love, the bigger the project, the better for me. It's just a great feeling, wrapping up a home and seeing a bunch of homeowners that love their lighting control system. It's so rewarding. It makes it worth it at the end of the day. And seeing everything come together and work. So hopefully, I'm hoping I get out of state a little bit, man. I'd love to travel, see the U.S., through my work at some point. So hopefully I'm there. So yeah, man, 120 acres of land, business, and
expand,
keep growing the company. Dominate, man.
Good goals right there. Can't complain about that right there.
Yeah.
So, and my last question, and this is what this show is all about. I ask this to everybody. What exactly do people need to look for in a lighting company or lighting control company, and why should they choose Joshua Kenny as their contractor or lighting control expert of choice?
Yeah, great question, man. So, look for people with integrity. Look for people, and also people that you get along with. Not just the people that you can establish rapport with and who you can talk to easily. And people that you can trust, because they're going to be in your home and they're going to be designing a system that's revolved around you. So finding that is crucial. Now with me, I love excellence. I bring my best in every job. And if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And I spend a lot of time in the design phase of the job to make sure everything works perfect, to make sure everything's designed properly. And I like to thoroughly educate my homeowners on the system. I like to make sure that they know what their system can do, what it's capable of, and then let them make the decision as to how they want the system to work. And if they don't want to make that decision, that's fine. I will for them. I don't have a problem with that. So.
And that's why everybody should go and hire you, man, because that's what it's about. It's about excellence. I mean, that's what it's about. Not a lot of people have that same mindset as you. And I mean, this has been great, man. You've ton of info. I mean, a lot of people need to absorb a lot of it because it is a hard subject in the home building world, but you've touched on a lot of points that I think will definitely help the listener too.
Yeah.
And even builders that listen to this too. Like I'm impressed, and I didn't know a lot of the stuff that you said within these systems and making lights. Everything has to kind of match up together and be in sync, and fixtures have to be the right fixtures and so on. So there's a lot of aspects to home control, lighting control systems that I didn't know about personally. So hats off to you for doing it. And I mean, this has been awesome. Last thing for you too. Where can people find and connect with you?
Yeah. So my Instagram would probably be a great place. So my business Instagram is at Intelligent Lighting Design, and my personal Instagram is at jkenny, JKENNY 827. So you could follow me there. That's more of my personal life, fitness life, things of that nature, philosophies, faith, all that good stuff. But you guys can reach out to me there or follow me there, and on this journey, man. So
follow the journey. Yeah,
follow the journey. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be you're doing great with what you're doing. I mean, you've been in it for it's been a good amount of time. I mean, not a huge amount of time, but you still got a long way to go. And I know your ambition. I know you're going to be all over the place. I can tell, man, because everybody I've had on this show is the same mindset, same way too. We just all want to do it right, and do business right and take care of the customer. That's the main thing.
That's what it's, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. That's why I'm going back. That's why I want to do it. I like being happy customers for my work. So
We all do. And if you don't, you
Oh, yeah,
got
absolutely, man.
if you don't, you shouldn't be in business. But unfortunately, there is a lot of people out there that don't really care about that. And it's about the money. But when I deliver a quality product, I've said this before too, is just to see somebody happy and say they appreciate it and how great of a job we did.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about too. So for
yeah.
sure.
I appreciate you, Bill. No, I do, man.
Yeah.
Kind words there, dude. I
No,
really,
I appreciate you too, man. I appreciate you taking the time today to come on, man. I know we've been
yeah,
talking about it, so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
this has been good. And everybody that's listening, obviously, I always ask for the same thing because I don't have any advertising or anything like that. Like, subscribe, 5-star reviews, write a review. I'd really appreciate that too. That's how this show continues to grow every single week. I appreciate all the listeners and all the people in different countries, like I said, that are listening.
yeah.
It's crazy to see
Awesome.
how many
I know that is.
I started this whole thing, and it's been a passion of mine to help people, and just like yourself, man. But I appreciate your time today, Josh, too.
Yeah,
Thanks for
yeah,
coming on.
yeah. No, man, I consider you a brother here, dude. I
Yeah,
really do. So I appreciate you, man. So
yeah, for
thank,
sure, for sure.
thank you.
So yeah, thank you everybody that listened. Thank you, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.